If you have a Subzero BI36, and there's some other models, this is a BI36. And down in here, if you have issues with water under your crisper drawer and ice building up along the floor, along the back wall, you need to see if you qualify for this airflow upgrade that Subzero provides. There's no charge for the kit. It is like a recall type situation. If you go to Subzero's knowledge base and you put in the serial number, it'll tell you, if whatever unit you're working on qualifies for this airflow upgrade. And what it consists of is a whole bunch of parts, a different fan in here, a heat strip, like a heat tape. This one here comes with the control board, and the reason why I got the control board is because I do not have the device that will allow you to hook your laptop up to the unit and reprogram the existing control board. So they send a control board out with it that's already got the firmware update to run the heat strip and the fan. And you'll see we've got this. Should be another piece in here that goes in. You're pretty much changing out a whole bunch of stuff. This right here, this lip extends out over the floor in the bottom there. This right here is a heat tape that goes along the bottom. It's a heating element, and it goes along the bottom around the drain trough and makes it so it doesn't ice up. Yeah, there's a bunch of parts in here. So as I do the job, I'll film more of it. This right here is a new evaporator fan, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I did one of these. But this should be the fan and the transformer and all that. But I'll get this open later. And that's your control board in that box right there. This is the part number for the 36. They have different sizes in this kit, so you got to make sure you get the right one. And that's the part number for the control board, which is probably the same on all of the units in any case. So I'm going to get to it. I'm going to take everything out of here. Normally I take a picture of the inside so I can put everything back where it was. And I'm going to disassemble everything in this and pull the back wall out, and I will pick up some more video in a minute. Okay, so I've got the shelves out. Now this bottom section here, this needs to come out, and normally you just lift up on this and it'll pull out. It fits into the clip there's one on the right there and one on the left, and the tabs right there slide into those clips. So this will come out, and you want to just set this stuff to the side. Some of it is not getting reused. You will be tossing some of it out. You can see the ice back there along the bottom, and that's what we're going to eliminate. Now this shelf right here needs to come out. And there's a couple clips they're like plastic spring clips that hold down on the shelf so that to keep it in place. And on the edge here, you can see this right here. You need to lift up this tab right here on both sides and slide the shelf forward carefully so you don't break it. Okay, so we got the shelf out. You can see now without the shelf in here how this just overlaps the top of the shelf. This puts pressure on the shelf. So what I do is I carefully stick a screwdriver flathead in here and kind of just turn it a little bit, and because this is pretty rigid, and this will pop out, the shelf will pop out, and you do the same thing on the other side. This right here, this diverter, now this lifts right up. You see these clips right here. There's 3 of them. There are notches on this, and it lifts up out of there pretty easily. And you set this to the side. Okay, now with some models, you're able to take this whole back wall out without taking anything else apart. On this particular model, this side here, this assembly with these rails on it, I'm going to take this out to get it out of the way. It's got your use and care guide and stuff that slides in. But anyway, it sticks out here, so I don't want to go struggling with this, trying to bow it and bend it and pull it out. So I'm going to take this out of the way, and then I can take this back wall out. This light lens is going to come down. Normally with the Subzeros, you just would push this forward or pull it towards you because there's notches. to get this lens. And I'm filming with my phone, so I only have one hand, so I'm gonna stand by and I'll come back with some more video. This does need to come down, and then you take the back wall. There's some screws along the top. There's some screws down here, and you take and disconnect your wiring harness. You're gonna carefully feed your thermistor through this hole over here, back inside. I took that side plate off. All the screws have to come out. You'll see a screw down here. Down at the bottom right hand corner, you'll see a screw there, and then there's another one hiding underneath this top rail right here. Those need to come out, but so do all the screws. They all go into all the rail screws go right into the sidewall. So there's not just a couple that come out in the whole assembly. You got to take all the screws out. Get that out of your way. This bottom plate here on the back wall, there's these little grommets right here they're like pop rivets. They're plastic. This was in, I already pulled it out. You got to pull them all out. There's 4 of them. The new kit comes with new ones. Here's everything that was in that small box that I hadn't opened. There's your fan, your transformer. Comes with screws, clips, wire harness guide. Comes with those clips. It comes with a wiring harness, a couple of them. This silicone, when you get this kit, when you receive it at your shop or wherever it comes, open up this box and check this tube out and make sure that it's soft, that you can feel it, because for some reason it does have a shelf life. I've gotten out on jobs and the thing had the top on it. It was all sealed, but it was as hard as a rock. I ended up having to go back to the shop because we actually had some, and I got it. But this stuff here, you want to make sure it's soft before you go out on the job, so you don't end up with your pants down, so to speak. So that's everything that comes in that box. These are all Torx bit screws. I believe they're T20s, and I'm going to finish taking this back wall out, taking this light out, and we'll pick up some more video. Okay, this light lens, when it's up in there, you're going to put your hands behind it, toward the back wall, up behind it. You can fit your fingers up in there and pull forward toward you. And that'll disengage this clip right here, because the pins fit right in here, so when you pull it forward, it'll drop straight down. There's the brackets that hold the light. You got a pin here and another one in the back, and you got them on both sides. This down here, this wiring harness for the light, you're going to have to squeeze this grommet right here. This rubber grommet, you got to push it right through the back, because that stays in the refrigerator. So you're going to carefully, just don't cut yourself, and push down on this rubber grommet and feed it through the hole all the way around. And there's a lot of sharp edges on this stuff, so you want to be careful when you're doing it. It's not very difficult. I just did it with one hand, but you're just going to pull the wire through. Then you can lift this up out of there and get this out of your way. This is what I'm talking about with having stuff in the way. I'm only using one hand. This side, you can usually finagle it out of there without damaging anything if you use 2 hands. Okay, for the top, there's a ground strap here. You just pull this ground strap off. You might need a screwdriver to get that off of there. And then this whole piece should pull forward and come right out of here. And there we go. All right, now we're looking at the evaporator. You can see back here where ice is in front of the drain hole. There's water built up here. It just freezes in here. What happens is your condensate drain gets blocked up like they do. It's a small hole, which, I don't know why it's that small, but it is on these units. And some of the newer ones, it's even harder. You could take this all apart, defrost all this, get all this ice out of here, blow out that drain, and put the whole thing back together. And I mean, it may be a while, but it's going to happen again. This fix usually does take care of this problem. In fact, I've done probably 6 or 7 of these. I've never gotten called back out on one to clear the drain again. So they must be doing something right with this. So I'm going to get all this ice out of there. I'm going to clear out that drain, and then I'm going to proceed with this this airflow upgrade. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove this evaporator fan assembly and get that out of the way. You get the instructions for this upgrade. It actually has you starting off up top. I like getting the inside. Most of the work is in here, and I like to get this done and out of the way. That way it gives the silicone that we put in here time to set up. There's going to be a bead of silicone that I had mentioned earlier in the video that you need to put in there. And I just like to get this out of the way, close the door, and then get up on top and do what I got to do up on top. I'm going to get that fan out of there, and then I will start the procedure of installing all the new items, and we'll pick up with some more video in a second. Pull the fan down. You'll disconnect the harness. There's a clip here for the harness. When you put the new fan in, you're going to put this new fan in. Here's your harness. It comes with a jumper harness. And what this jumper harness does is it supplies voltage to the heating element, the new heating element that you're going to be putting in there. This goes along the bottom of the trough there. And this tab this is kind of self-explanatory. This tab goes into the drain hole. It's a heater. The heat will radiate and keep your drain from freezing up. Speaking of that, once I got all this apart and I showed you the ice and the water and all that, I got the ice out of there. You know, normally when a drain clogs up, you can use a gallo gun or some compressed air or whatever method you use to blow this out. When there's ice in there, you're not able to do that. You got to defrost it first. So all I did was I took a coffee cup and threw it in the microwave, heated up a cup of water, and just poured it right in here, and it dissolved the ice, melted it right up, and went right down the drain. It took less than a minute. And some other refrigerators, actually some GE and other refrigerators with a larger drain, the ice is heavier in there. That's one, I guess, good aspect to having a smaller drain hole. The ice will melt quicker and clear it up faster for you, but that only took a second to do. So I'm going to install this fan and this jumper harness, and then move on to the next step. You know, at Subzero, these fan blades, the color of the fan blade, believe it or not, is a good indicator with Subzero as far as upgrades and revisions. You don't want to just think you're going to put that harness on this fan and leave it in there because it worked. So get that out of your head, that if the fan worked, you can leave it and keep this for truck stock, because it's a different configuration. The fan blade is different than this one. It's part of the airflow upgrade, and it needs to be changed. Lots of times when you look up evaporator fans, you'll see revision use with black. If you have the white fan blade, you need to get the black fan blade, or the clear, and there's all kinds of descriptions about the color of the fan blade. So the color of that fan blade and the configuration of the bend and the way that it's configured, it does mean something with these Subzero refrigerators. So don't leave this fan in. It's not going to work if you do. So here's your jumper harness for the fan, and then you got this harness that comes down. It's going to go all the way down. You're going to use the clips, the wire harness clips that they give you. You're going to place these where they tell you to place them. I'll have some video on that. And you're going to run it to that heater once you put the heater in. Now, the next step, you haven't done it yet. It all depends on how you choose to go through your instructions. This is the diverter right here, and this gets discarded. We take this out completely and discard it. They want you to put silicone in the holes and put the screws back in. You know, I put a little silicone on the screws and then cover them up with silicone that's provided in the kit. Okay. So this is where they want you to put a bead of silicone right along this back wall, out and around the drain trough, along the whole drain trough, and then back over and along the wall. And again, it's the provided silicone that they send you, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Here's a tip that I have for you. I would reverse, if you're going by the instruction booklet that comes with this, I would definitely reverse two of the items on there. They tell you to put this bead of silicone along the back wall, around the trough, and along the back wall. Then they tell you to preform this drain in place. And when you do preform this drain, I suggest sticking this in to make sure that it goes all the way in for you, so that once you take the sticker off of this, you're not fighting with this right here. But anyhow, so you're going to preform this by bending it along here, figuring out exactly where you're going to place it. And then the idea is to take it back out and peel the sticker off. So if you put that silicone on there and then you do this step, when you pick it back up, you're going to have a mess on it. You're going to have silicone all over the sticker. They got, in my opinion, they have it backwards. You should form this the way you're going to have it. Make sure it's going to fit right. Then put your silicone on. Then peel the sticker off. And when you're installing this, insert this tab down in as you install it. And then lay it down flat. That's just my opinion. I think that will work best. Okay. So I have this heat tape in here now. The silicone's going along the back, like underneath it, like I told you. And I put a little bead of it over the wiring harness lays over it, and then I put a little bit more on top on both sides. The heat, this right here is your drain heater. That's tucked down in there. And so we're ready to go to the next step. I'm about to install this lower air duct. And these are the clips that I showed you earlier that it came with. I've installed them with the provided screws, which have the same Torx head on them that everything else does, so you're not swapping out tools, which is pretty convenient. It does tell you when you remove the old one, it tells you to go ahead and put these on at that time, which I do things a little differently. Two reasons. One, why do I need to pick this up earlier and do anything with it and then have to pick it up again? That's just the way I work, and I pick it up one time, do what I need to do, and install it. The other reason is if you do this then, and you don't, and I guess if you have all your parts in a pile somewhere and you don't separate everything, you might not remember which one was which and put the old one in by mistake. You don't want to be doing that. So anyway, I'm doing this now all in one shot. That way it's in my hands and it goes into the refrigerator. Your thermistor is going to come through this grommet right here. It comes with all the clips. Subzero is real good about this. It's just complete. You're going to put your wiring harness grommet through there for your light. That's that rubber grommet that's going to poke through. Now on the left hinge, which is what we have here, it tells you where to mount these. On the left hinge, this one here is going to be offset because this duct is going to fit flush with the right hand side when it's installed. So you want to make sure you're, look in the instructions for which model you have right or left hinge. If it was the right hinge, it would be offset the other way. It would fit flush on this side. And then there's one for French door that's even different. But in any case, I'm about to install this. Basically these clips, they just lay on there, and this, the screw goes through the back. There's one screw going through the back at the top, and then there's a little dowel that sticks through the hole on the bottom here. And that's how they look when they're installed. But I'm going to go ahead and install this now. I'm ready to put this in. Another tip when you're putting this in, I would put these top screws in first. That way you can kind of angle this back and you can guide these screws into the standoffs that are back here. You got your standoffs, and that way you can see in there, you can guide them in. And once you guide those in, the other ones will line right up for you, the two bottom ones. And we guide our thermistor across into the hold downs and put the probe right through here where it goes. And you got your harness plugged in, and we are ready to go on to the next step. Okay, they call this the crisper duct assembly, and this right here has some, it's got some backing that you peel off here on both sides, on the ends here, going that way and that way. And this right here, they want you to install this thing about a 1/16 of an inch away from the back wall, okay? And what they mean by the back wall is this lower duct. They're not talking about the actual back wall of the refrigerator, because you'd have to tuck it in underneath, and that's just not what they're saying. So basically, you kind of eyeball it. A 1/16 of an inch is not a whole lot, okay? I don't ever take a tape measure out and measure this. I just kind of center it, make sure it's center. and then peel off that sticky tape and just go ahead and place it in there, and that's that. Okay, so we have the crisper duct installed, and we're ready for the next step. In this instruction packet that came with this, it stops basically that this crisper floor, duct that you put in. It tells you to install your lower duct on the back wall with your light fixture and all that. Then it goes to this step here, and then you would think on the next page you would have more instructions, because there are still differences. I guess they assume you'll know how to put the rest of this together. This right here, I mean, I guess it's common sense for a technician. I mean, I don't know. I can't argue that point, because I guess there are people out there that really need instruction. There's a major shortage of technicians, capable technicians out there to work on appliances, and it's a sad thing. That being said, there are people out there who've never done anything like this that are in the job. This gets discarded. It says nothing about that in the instruction packet. It doesn't tell you that when you install this new back wall that you're going to replace that piece with this one here. In any case, that's what happens next. The back wall goes on. It does tell you after you flash your control board or install your new control board to reinstall interior components. You would think that interior components refer to your shelving and your drawers, not the actual back wall and this piece here. So in any case, we're at the step where we're going to install that right there. And then we're going to put this piece in there. We're going to use the standoffs that they give us, that are the new pop rivets, to join the upper duct and the lower duct, and those 4 holes that go along the bottom. They do supply these, but yeah, that's a little disappointing. I honestly don't recall, out of all the other times I've done these, seeing anything missing out of the instruction manual. I mean, I've done, like I said, I've done a few of these, and this is the first time I've actually noticed that it doesn't say anything about mounting, putting that back in with this new piece right here. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to get this together, and then I'm going to put the new control board in. We'll get to the top section shortly. When you install this back wall, there's pins here on each side, and there are notches on the bottom of this back panel. They ride right over those pins, and then you push the top forward, and then you put your screws in. Don't forget about that ground wire that clips on. Don't leave that hanging back there. And we will put this in next. So it really doesn't matter what order you do this in. You could put this back wall, the upper duct that it doesn't mention in the instructions, the reinstallation of it is not mentioned. You can put this in before you put this bottom one in, or after. It just tucks right in place, and you put your plastic pop rivets in place, and then what you'll do from there is put your screws back in. Remember, the short screw goes in the center, and then you got the longer screws that go into the standoffs up at the top, and down there's 2 at the bottom. And we are just about done installing this. Now we will put this cover on. This right here is your new, it's like a diverter. It covers up those vents right there, because we are circulating, just so if you haven't noticed, we're circulating the air through this unit differently than it was before. You've got a vent down here at the bottom, an air duct extension down at the bottom, and then you're gonna cover these up, and you've got your airflow at the top, so that when this fan is turning, it's actually pulling the air from the front here, from the lower section under the crisper drawer. It's going to pull the air up through these ducts and come out the top. It's going to recirculate in that fashion instead of the way that it did before. Okay, we have our light cover on. We have our cover plate on the back upper duct. We're going to now install the drawer rail assembly that goes on there. And we will pick up in a second. When you install this, there are nubs on the back that'll lock into place in holes, okay? And you're gonna take your, you have some coarse screws, there's 2 of them, that are gonna go into this hole right here that's below your track mounts. And then there's another one down in that corner. And that's where your coarse ones go. And your machine screws obviously are gonna hold your rails in, and they'll go right through this into the wall. Everything's installed. Everything looks good. I will now look at my photograph of the interior so that I can put the shelving and everything back the way that it goes. Everything's back where it was. And we are ready to close this door and get up top and start doing what we got to do up there. Stand by. All right, as far as this goes, I would not try to work around this cover. I take it off and get it out of the way. There's a couple screws in here. They mounted this to the cabinet by putting a screw through here. But all that holds this on, you've got a screw down here where there's a slot. You loosen that one up and take this one out. Obviously, we're gonna have to take this one out too. And the same thing on this side. And then this whole cover, this whole assembly will come off in one piece. You don't have to go disconnecting your hinges or anything like that. This all is part of the frame. So it all comes off together. All right, we got that off of there. And we have all the room, well, all the room that we're gonna have, the most room possible anyway. It still is a little tight in there. The control board is back in there behind that plastic cover. We're gonna take that off. We're gonna get in there and swap this out. That is a little tricky. They've got a bunch of wires going to it. It's definitely, you just got to be careful and take your time when you do this. I would definitely plan on at least 3, if you've never done one of these jobs before, plan on like a 3-hour block of time. You might use all that time, you might not, and it all depends. Okay, we got the plastic cover out. It's keyed. You can loosen up the screws and slide it and take it off of the, pull it right off. There's also little nubs on that control board case. That is just the case, by the way. You need to disassemble this whole thing and take it out of the case and put the new board in the case. It'd be nice if it was all one assembly. It would also be nice if I had the device that's used, which we have one at the shop, but I need to get the software installed in a new laptop in order to use it. But this is where you plug it in. You just plug that thing in, hook it up to your laptop, and you can go ahead and load this with the new firmware. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that right now, and I have to change out this board. So I'm gonna take this out. I'm not gonna film too much on this. This actually comes out, you pull it forward, and there's a harness on it and all that, and basically, you kind of pay attention, take some pictures of the wire connections so that you can put it all back together with the new board, and I'll pick up some more video shortly. Okay, I've got the covers off. You can see everything's wide open up in here now. This is where I'm going to install the transformer and wiring harness for this half of the upgrade. We need to remove the filter. A little bit of water is probably going to drip out of there, but we need to remove this whole assembly, and we need to install this transformer, this wiring harness, and I will go ahead and video some of the steps involved in this. Stand by. Okay, I took the screws out of this manifold, and so I can lift it up. I may end up taking the screws out of here as well to get this bracket out of the way, because I need to reach in behind this box. And on the back side of this box, I don't know if you can see, because I can't stick my head in here. Actually, let me flip this around. I'm spinning y'all around here. Turn the flash on. Back there is a plug connector. It's a blank connector that we're going to take out. It just covers a connector that goes to a secondary heating element, water heater type element. We're going to take that out to get it out of the way, because underneath that plug is another connector that we need to disconnect. Stand by. I was able to reach back there and just pull this dummy connector off, and now you can see the connector that's underneath there. That one has to come off now. And just to point something out to you, whoever installed this, It's recommended on an install, you know, especially when it's new construction and you know you're putting one of these in, the power outlet should be back there so that I can reach back and unplug this thing. So what I'm about to do now is go find the breaker, because you want to disconnect power to this unit when you're doing this part of the procedure. You just want to disconnect all power, and I can't unplug it because the plug's not back there. It's somewhere behind this thing, and that's unfortunate. So I'm going to have to search for the breaker panel in this house. Stand by. Okay, I want to give you another tip as well here. Okay, now you're not going to see any of this because this is not installed. You're looking in, you know, from the front, unless you want to install. If you pull this out of the hole, I guess you can gain access to all this, but you don't need to put a screwdriver. I'm going to try to get the right angle here. It shows them putting a screwdriver in there on this particular connector to pull it out. And that's like difficult because you'd have to reach over there and feel your way to do that, when there's actual tabs that you can squeeze where that arrow is pointing. Right there. Let's see here. Right on this part of the tab on both sides, if you reach back there and squeeze, these will come away and you can just pull it out. There's no need to use a screwdriver. You can see now the connector's back there. You squeeze the tabs and pull it toward the back wall and it comes undone. And now there is a jumper that we're going to put in place that is going to send power to the transformer. So I'm going to go ahead and put that jumper in place and plug it all back in, and we will install the transformer. Okay, here, let's see. This is the, well, I called it a jumper. It's a harness, but this is a jumper. This goes into the control box, and the wire we took out plugs into here, and then you've got a harness that you're going to route along the front of the condenser coil. You are going to want to take note when you're doing this. When you pull out the plug and you lay it up on top, you're going to see it's got 6, you know, terminals on it. That flat will be on the top left. So you're going to plug your harness in accordingly, and then the jumper that comes off the harness, make sure that the flat is on the top left. When you reach around that and find it and plug it in, that if you have it flipped around the other way, you'll be there all day long. Okay, this cover looks like it took a little bit of a beating during the install. But anyway, this is the cover that goes in front of the compressor that I took off, and this is the air diverter. Right here. It's very important, by the way, on the Subzeros to make sure, if you ever take one apart, whether old or new, whether the condensing unit's on the bottom or the top, you will always see an air diverter on them, and that diverts the warm air coming off your the hot side off the coil, so that this thing takes in cool air and exhausts hot air, and that needs to be on there. The transformer replaces it. It has a diverter on it. You're going to mount this transformer to this cover, and you're gonna do it when this is installed. That being said, I've already hooked up that wiring harness up there for this. I'm gonna leave this off while I do the control board, because it gives you a little more elbow room up there, because it is a little tricky and a little tight. So after I put the new control board in, I will put this cover on and I'll mount this, and then we'll hook up the wiring harness to it. Okay, here's the new control board. Like I was saying, there's a bunch of wires and harnesses that go to this thing. It comes with instructions. I would read them. Just pay attention and be careful, and just take your time is all I can tell you. There's programming instructions on here. This will need to have some programming done. It's like a personality of the unit to the board, so it recognizes which unit it's in, because like I said before, this board is used in multiple units. So you'll want to read. You can't just plug and play and walk away. That sounded pretty cool. Anyway, you don't want to do that. You want to follow the instructions. This is, you just pay attention. This network jack right here goes into the first one. You know, I honestly never looked into it. It may not make a difference, but it may make a difference. Who knows? You want to put it in the first one. This is nice, how you can just unplug these. It would be great if there was a big wire connector on this trunk right here. If there was a big connector here that you could undo and pull this whole thing out and put it all together on a counter, I would love that. One thing I will say, with this particular model, they do give you enough harness to really pull this thing forward, which is very helpful. If you undo these two connectors right here that I undid, you can literally pull this thing forward and work on it. It is awkward, but everything's right here. So basically, I mean, take a picture. A lot of these plug connectors are, you know, they won't go anywhere else. They'll only go where they fit, and that's it. So, I did it again. Anyway, you can tell it's been a long day. I'm making rhymes over here. But anyhow, I'm going to put a cloth behind this so I don't scratch the door, and we'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so I've got the board installed. I flipped this back around the way that it goes after I put the cover on it. Everything's hooked up in there. You want to make sure that you don't push this in, you know, behind this. Make sure this is still hanging out here so you can plug it in where it goes. And we're to the point now where before we push this board in, we want to go ahead and get this cover back on and mount our transformer, because there's going to be another harness, a jumper, that comes over and goes between one of these right here, one of these wires, so that everything runs off the control board. Okay, I'm actually going to just plug this jumper in here now, and then I'll put that cover on that we were talking about. But just so you know, so you're not, they're very close in size, but they are different. This jumper right here goes to the smaller of the two connectors. So you're just going to put that in line, you know, right in there. Connect the other one where it goes. Put this in there, and then this other wire is going to work its way over to the transformer. All right, the control board is back in its hole where it belongs. I'm going to go ahead and remount this water filter mounting bracket and water filter manifold, and put the water filter back in. I'm just kind of work my way out. I'll put the cover back on and mount the transformer. This will go to the transformer off power supply. Coming off the transformer, you will have a wire, this wiring harness, which I connected underneath this. This was convenient that this was here, and it'll be fine to route it through there. This will go to the transformer so that the DC voltage will communicate from the control board, telling the transformer when to turn the heating element on, and we'll be good to go. After that, we're going to program the control board and have it communicate properly with this model. Okay, we're going to reinstall this plug connector, this dummy connector, into the back of that power supply box, back where it came from. All right, we've got our cover back on. We've got our transformer installed, wiring harness going where it needs to. Water filters installed, that harness is hooked up. We're ready to put the grill back on, which is right here. I'll get that back on, and then we will move on to programming the new control board. I put the grill on. I put these two screws back in. I had to take these screws all the way out because they had screws going through the side bracket into the wall, into the molding here, to secure the refrigerator. So it was hard to get the grill out, to get those screws out without being able to wiggle the whole grill around. So I put these screws back in, one down here and one down there, so that the notch in the back of the grill can just slide into place. It'll slide under that little tab right there on both sides. You know, there's a notch on the grill that goes around the screw, and then a little piece that sticks out and goes under that tab. And then you can let go of it. It'll stay in place. It won't fall out. And then you can put the front screws in. Stand by. Okay, the grill is on, and now we can program the refrigerator. And I'll go over the steps to do that right now. Okay, this programming part, basically we need to turn the power on to the unit and then come out here and hit the power button. And then and this all has to happen within a 5-minute time, or you have to start all over again. So what you'll do is you'll press power, turn it on, then you've got to press and hold the colder button and then touch power and release both keys. And then from there, there's other steps, but I'm going to try to set this phone down in a spot where we can see what happens while I'm doing it. And stand by. All right, I'm going to try to do this quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the power button, and then we're going to press colder and power. Let's see here, power button, and then we're going to hit. Then we've got to hold the colder and then touch power and release both. Okay, what you're going to do when you program this, what the instructions don't tell you, is that when you first power this on, you're going to see that DEFL come up, which is going to make you want to go to that step. Don't do that. It's a default thing that comes up. It's going to change from that to a couple other things. Then you might see OFF on there separated. It looks like an OF or an O and two F's over here. That means the unit's powered off. So you want to power it on. You want to let it go through its whole boot up cycle. Once it boots up all the way and you see temperatures on there, that's when you're going to hold the power button. You're going to hold the colder button down, hold the power button down, and then release both. And once you do that, you're going to see some more numbers and stuff come up. And that's when you'll follow the instructions on there. It's beeping at me now. And that's when you will take and hold down your power button for 10 seconds till you see DEFL again. And once you see DEFL again, you can hit the warmer key until your code comes up that's on the chart. And that's it. The last step is to put the decals in there. This is an airflow enhancement installed. They want the silver one to go underneath the model number tag right there, and I'll go ahead and put it there. And then there's a yellow one that comes with the kit. This yellow one here is going to go on that panel up there.